Hello there friends and welcome. I'm here with important but somewhat disappointing news that I think is going to matter a lot for the viewers. So unfortunately, our first DLC, which was meant to be released tomorrow at February 15, is now confirmed to be delayed. Inevitable Express will now be releasing on March 3rd, next month only. The reason, according to ARCANE Games, is, well, basically balance. In their own words, the new enemies we're going to encounter and also their mechanical features need more balancing. And this does actually confirm that we are going to get new enemies in the DLC. As I mentioned in my previous video, I'm guessing they're going to be lawful aligned enemies from the plane of Axis. So instead of a lot of chaotic evil demons, we are probably going to face all sorts of different lawful aligned outsiders. Mostly lawful neutral, I think, because that is their alignment by default. So no more smite evil. Well, not really, because we do actually gain a very special longsword that I cover in my longswords guide you can access to the side here, and also in the video description, that does let you affect even neutral enemies with smite evil. So there's that. Be sure to keep that longsword ready for the DLC if you're going to use a paladin like SEELAH, who is a very valuable party member because of her extremely useful Mark of Justice ability. Well, it is somewhat of a downer. I was really excited for the DLC tomorrow and all of the new content that it might possibly bring. For example, all sorts of new feats, spells, and mythic abilities that I'm hoping we are going to get. Especially because, as I've mentioned before, this is an endgame DLC, so it will take place while your characters are already at full power, which does matter a lot because, you know, the end game in Wrath of the Righteous is not really as big as the early and mid game, so this DLC will work as another way to extend the late game, or at least I hope. On the other hand, we also get a few more story details about the DLC. So in Inevitable Express, I believe the main big bad, if you may, is going to be this inevitable character called Valmallos. I hope that's how you pronounce it. He's the Keeper of Magic who dwells on the plane of Axis, which is the lawful aligned plane in Pathfinder. I don't think they have Mechanus, which is the Dungeons and Dragons lawful plane. And as I've just said, he's one of the inevitables, so a mechanical Aeon. I wonder if you're going to get any interesting new story events depending on if your character is also an Aeon. After all, there is a mythic path. So they were created a long time ago by Axiomites to oversee the laws of the universe. And Valmallos in particular is really concerned about the war wound and all of its potential consequences. And if I were to guess, he's probably pretty angry at the fact your main character, a mere mortal, is able to gain mythic power so quickly, especially with all of the mythic abilities and spells you get, for a Keeper of Magic that is, that can really break the game apart. Just the Lich and Angel ones are enough to destroy everything with ease. One Storm of Justice, or one negative eruption, and all of the demons are sent crying back to the abyss. So for more information on Valmallos, I'm looking at the Pathfinder wiki here. He's also called the Answering Bright, is a primordial inevitable who understands all laws of magic and regulates its usage to ensure it is inaccessible to those who fail to put sufficient practice and training to wield it responsibly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure our AZATA and TRICKSTER characters are not using it responsibly at all, especially because they gain the abilities as spontaneous casters, so they just gain them for free. Like all of the mythic paths really, you don't really put any effort into learning your abilities. Now, scholars believe the complex array of spell components so prevalent in magic are at least partially Valmallos' responsibility, like all of the diamond dust we use for stone skin and so on. As far as his appearance, the Answering Right appears as a mechanical giant with an exposed glowing heart. His form is also surrounded by serpentine scrolls. Well, that's pretty much 100% the portrait we have of him so far. Pretty neat. Interestingly enough, he is actually a deity. I didn't know about that. So he can get worshippers like spellcasters, wizards, and so on. He even has domains for clerics, law, magic, rune, and water. As far as the first edition, which is what we are, mechanics-wise at least. And yeah, now look at this part. So, what is considered anathema to Valmallos? Granting magic to those who cannot use it responsibly. Yeah, that's the entire Mythic Path experience. Cause a magical disaster, that's not great for Arilu. She did create the entire world wound. And also ignoring magical misconducts. Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't smited Arilu yet then. Interestingly enough, as far as his cults, so he approves of wizards, but he and his cultists are actually wary of those born with the ability to use magic to the point of prejudice, so they probably have a thing against sorcerers and the like. Other spellcasters are judged on a case-by-case basis, depending how responsibly they use their powers in the past. Not sure our trickster is going to meet that standards. Pretty much the same for anyone who's not an Aeon or an Angel, I think. His followers are perfectionists in magical practices, and Valmallos views them more as students whom he can educate in ways to make magic more complicated and less inaccessible to the irresponsible. So Valmallos is actually gatekeeping magic to keep it away from the hands of the dirty, high charisma, low intelligence sorcerers. His priests often spend long spans of time teaching apprentices and hunt them down at any hint of misconduct. That's harsh. I'm guessing an Inquisitor of Valmallos would make for a very neat character. It would certainly be interesting if they actually added Valmallos in the new DLC as a new deity to pick from. I'm guessing that's not going to happen, but you know, hope dies last. I know there's already some data mine spoilers that you can check regarding more about Valmallos' intentions. I won't be covering them here because I really prefer to experience it for myself as I play the DLC. This also brings another point. I was expecting patch 1.2 to be released the same time as the DLC, so tomorrow. Now that it's only going to come on March 3rd, I wonder if we're getting patch 1.2 earlier, or if they're going to keep it and we'll probably only get it as well together with the new DLC release date. Patch 1.2 is going to bring a lot of neat changes to the game, especially for both the Aeon and Swarm Mythic paths. As far as I'm aware, Aeon will get a lot of neat upgrades to their main powers, and I do know one of their spells now actually enhances your stats to absurd amounts. I wonder if you're going to keep it that way, or that's also going to be nerfed a bit, because from what I have seen, it's really crazy powerful. And I'm just waiting for patch 1.2 to really start my Aeon run, which I'll be of course covering in guides in the future, such as a Mythic Path guide fully focused on the Aeon abilities and also builds for your Aeon too. So please stay tuned for more Aeon content. Meanwhile, Swarm will now have access to their most powerful ability, which is the ability to generate clones based on your own character to fill all of your party slots, because you know, all of your party members end up leaving you on the Swarm path. And this will now happen just at Mythic rank 8. Before, it only happened at Mythic rank 10, and as you might already know, there is nothing left to do in the game after Mythic rank 10 besides fighting the final boss. So I'm hoping now Swarm will become a lot stronger, because we'll get access to our clones as early as chapter 5 start, which is also when you truly become a Swarm. So for all of your Swarm experience, you have access to your very powerful clones. Well, so this was it for this little short video. I'm still very much excited about the DLC, and hopefully it will manage to meet all of our expectations. Also, I'd really like to know what are your expectations for the DLC, so please be sure to comment down below your thoughts on it. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.